Welcome to the Pest Empire Builder Podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about the value of persistence and sticking with it even through hard times. And welcome to the show. I'm so glad you tuned in today on Pest Empire Builder Podcast. We're talking with Jeff, who is Jeff Davis, who's with us. And Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing.
That's good, man. Hey, I'm so glad you tuned into the show today and came on, made some time to hang out and chat about your business. What part of the country are you in again?
We're in Connecticut. We're actually on the border of Connecticut and Massachusetts.
Okay. That's great. Are you in a big market or a small market?
I would say mid-size. It's the Hartford, Springfield, greater metro area.
Okay. Do you know about how many people live out there?
It's probably about 100,000 or so.
Okay.
So I haven't looked at the demographics in a while, but it's a good size market.
Yeah, that is a good size market. That's nice. I love that part of the country. It is so beautiful. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so I'm surrounded by cactus and sand. And so to get out there and see all the green and the trees and is a treat for me.
Yeah, the leaves are changing colors here too. So.
Oh man, I'd love to live someplace where there's leaves. The cactus stay the same year round.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, they're actually northern New Mexico is pretty green. So I can, when I go get out of town, go camping or whatever, I can drive north a few hours and get to some greenery and some trees and some, streams and creeks and stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, that's good, man. Hey, what do you do for fun?
Let's see. I work a lot. So, I don't know. Work is kind of fun for me, especially nowadays, because I kind of developed my mission and vision, and the more I focus on it, the more I get excited about it, and it's kind of a struggle to stop working because now I'm really excited about what I'm doing. And, the discoveries I've made over the last couple months or so, it's like a new project. So it's we're working with AI and stuff like that to improve everything that we do. And it's like a video game for me. It's it's kind of intoxicating a little bit. But I actually like to cook in my spare time.
Okay.
So it's relaxing for me. It's a little offbeat, but I actually watch a lot of videos on how to cook.
Okay.
So I guess I'm a foodie.
I love that. Yeah, I love to eat. So
same.
Yeah, it would work. Yeah, I'm good at barbecuing. Barbecuing is kind of I got into that. I got smokers now, and I'm doing a lot of barbecuing, smoking, and brisket, and pulled pork, and that's kind of been my cooking hobby lately. I've really enjoyed it. It's nice though when your business is exciting, right? I don't know, man. There's times you've been in business for, I think you said 20 years, in pest control. I've been in business for 20 years in a few different various companies, but it's nice when you're excited to get up in the morning and you're like, yes, I can't wait to keep doing this. And work is fun. I know that there's times where work isn't fun, right? And it's, you got to slug through it a little bit, the ups and the downs. I guess I've always equated it sometimes you have the wind in your face, and sometimes you have the wind in your back. And it sounds like maybe you have a wind in your back kind of season right now where you're excited about life.
I think it's really it's more of a mindset. I kind of force myself to, I don't even want to say I force myself. Now I kind of realize that I'm building an empire. And everything I do stacks on what I'm doing. So the more I do in align with that is more beneficial for me, and things are going to be even more awesome. So it's kind of like the frosting on the cake kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I like what you said there. You're not forcing yourself, but it's almost like you're choosing it. I choose to be excited. I choose to be happy.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think about Napoleon Hill talking about changing your identity.
Yeah.
And, when you identify as somebody who is successful and is accomplishing and is excelling, it just makes it it's not a chore kind of thing. So it's this is who I am.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. And getting your mission and your vision dialed in is super important. I remember my current business when I was able to kind of get that dialed in, and I really have never had my mission vision dialed in as great as I do now. Like, I think I had kind of a loose mission vision in years past. I kind of had like, oh, this is kind of what we're doing. But I took the time, and that's actually kind of like shameless plug for PEB. That's one of the things that we do in there is there's a whole module on how do you build your mission, your vision, your values, and your culture. And when I sat down and really focused and took the time and went through the process of like, how do I really dial this in? Now it's like, oh man, not only can I get excited about it, but it also allows my employees to get excited about it and the people on my team to get excited about it because they now have a very clear direction in which to go. And without, I mean, I'm not sure who told this originally, but I repeat it like it's my idea because, I steal it. But if you don't have river banks, you end up with a swamp. And so it's like, you need the riverbanks, you need the boundaries of mission and vision and values, taking the time to write it down. It's like, oh, it's constricting. I don't know if I like the constriction. No, it's riverbanks to make it a river that flows versus just a swamp. I don't know if you've ever been to a swamp, but.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it sounds like to me, what you're talking about is kind of like when you have discipline, you become free. Having those guardrails up, you can work within those confines and, you're working in a safe space. And, when you're doing what you got to do and you're accountable to it, then, it is freeing. And I think that's why I'm so excited nowadays, because we're kind of moving toward that direction of like, identifying those areas that we need to focus on and making sure everybody's accountable to those. And then that's one of our core values is to be accountable. So, I don't know, to me, it just makes it that more exciting about growing the business because we can look at this stuff and say, wow, this actually works.
Right.
We actually see the results from that too. So,
yeah. And so you've been doing this for 20 years. I imagine you've seen ups and downs in the business. Like, how do you, like, when the ups are up, right? Like, it's fun to go to work. It's fun to get up and push after it. It's fun to go pursue it. But when it's down, like, how do you deal with that?
Let's see. So in the past, what I would do is not focus on fixing the problems. I would be, pity party kind of thing. And I learned that is completely unproductive. And if there is a down, there's something, I think it's John Maxwell was talking about, you're either winning or you're learning. And, now my mindset is, okay, if we're down, there's a reason why. And I'm 100% responsible and accountable for why it's like that. And I have to figure out why I am in that state and figure out what I need to do to get past that. So anytime there's a problem, it's really actually an opportunity to do better.
I like that. Yeah. You're either winning or you're learning. And that's a great quote. And because, sometimes we get in down spots and we're not learning, right? I don't know about you, but I get stuck in the down and I'm like wallowing. I'm like winning or I'm wallowing in like, oh no, like this is the worst. And I kind of get stuck and I don't know, you can almost get like depressed or discouraged. And I don't know, man, I see business owners a lot of times that do that. They get into a tough spot and then they get kind of stuck in that negative, depressed state. And then they're complaining about, the market conditions, the economy, the interest rates, or, I mean, whatever it might be, they're complaining about some external factor that they have literally zero control over. And then they blame their downtime on an external factor that is outside of their control. It's almost like a scapegoat to be, instead of looking in the mirror and going like, what can I control? And versus like, I'm going to point to the things that I can't control and I'm going to make those the things that like are my problem, right? Like if I can shift the blame of my lack of performance or my bad attitude or whatever I'm stuck in the doldrums of life, if I can point to something else, then it's like, I don't have to take accountability.
Yeah. I hate that kind of mindset because it's like you're, giving in to defeat. And, we're 100% accountable or responsible for what goes on in our life. So, and the other thing that nags at me is nobody cares. You know,
they don't care.
We all have problems that we run into, and there's people that have worse problems than we do, and we just get in our head. We're worried about what other people are thinking, and it's like, just stop. And
they're not thinking.
Yeah.
I'm worried about somebody else thinks. They're literally not. Like, I'm not on their radar at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they don't think about you at all.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's like the pinnacle of like ego, borderline, like narcissistic traits. It's like, I'm concerned what everybody else is going to think. And it's like, they're literally not. Like, yeah, you mean you're not on their mind at all. So go do it. Just like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's true. Like, you end up with a kind of a victim mentality if you start blaming other people. And one thing I learned a long time ago is like, if you're a victim and you have a victim mentality, that means there must be a victimizer, right? Because you're a victim of something. And that victimizer is whatever it might be over there, and most of the time in a victim mentality, your victimizer is something that's outside of yourself that you can't control. And you can't, it's something that happened to you or whatever, or it's happening to you. And I'm not discounting actual abuse or any of that kind of stuff, but it's like, but just blame the current presidential administration, whichever side you're on, like, oh, well, this presidential administration is blah, blah, blah. And that's why I can't, whatever. And it's like, okay, like whether you like these guys or not like these guys, and just wait, you're going to like or not like the next one. So it's, or it's the interest rates, or it's the economy, or it's the this or that, whatever it might be. You have a victimizer on the outside that makes you a victim. And then you got to look for a hero if you want to get out of your victim mentality, right? And so you got to find someone to be a hero or something to be a hero. But I think the real magic happens when you realize I can be my own hero. And when that happens, you break out of that victim mentality, and then you realize, like, I can save myself from whatever situation that I'm in. And like you get out of that. But so many people get stuck in that victim mentality, and then they don't go and achieve the hopes and dreams that they had in their heart. Like the things that they're trying to pursue in their business, the goals that they have, and I think every business owner starts a business because they want time and financial freedom to be able to take care of the people that they love most. I'm doing this because I have two amazing daughters in high school, and I'm working my butt off to try to make sure I can provide a better life for my kids. And, and it's like, I don't know, like it's, when you find a vision for your life that's bigger than you, and then you find a way that, like, nothing on the outside is going to stop me. Like, I have this, you start pursuing the thing that you love. And I don't know, it's discipline. That quote you just said, discipline brings freedom, is really powerful.
Definitely. Yeah. Another thing to think about is sometimes the victimizer is yourself. And,
yeah.
People live in the past and they sit there and wallow in it. And, what happens is you're actually just making a choice, being that way.
Yeah.
You have the ability to make the choice to get past it and grow. So I don't know where I was going to go with that, but
no, but that's so good. That is so deep. I love that, because you're right. Like, sometimes we are our own victimizer, and I'll be real honest and transparent here. Right. Like, so I was married for 20 plus years, and I'm going through a divorce, and it was tough. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was rough. But there was a point in the middle of the divorce where, like, yeah, I'm a victim. There's a victimizer. The situation as a whole was just really, really hard. But there is a point in time where I'm moving along where I have a decision to make. Yeah, I need to feel the pain. Yeah, I need to feel all the disappointment, and I need to feel the loss. I need to feel all that. But there is a point where it's like, okay, it's okay to let this go and move forward. Or you can stay stuck there, and you can allow that. I could allow that to define me for the rest of my life. And then now I'm victimizing myself. I met a lady who was in her late 60s. We were talking about something, and she talked about her hard upbringing or something like that. And that's why she couldn't do the things that she wanted to do. And I found out when she was between the ages of 8 and 11, her home life was pretty terrible. And in my head, I'm like, you're 60 something years old. Like, that situation was terrible. I'm not discounting the terribleness of that situation. But at some point, she was victimizing herself now. Probably 30 to 40 years of victimizing herself, if not more, over something that happened a long, long time ago. And And the guy that did that terrible thing has been dead for 20, 30 years, you know? And so now you got a dead guy who's victimizing. I mean, at some point you're like, okay, you have to be able to own it and go, okay, that was hard. That was tough. And maybe it was a bad decision that I made that causes my problem. Maybe it's a bad decision somebody else made that caused my problem. Maybe all this other stuff. But you're right. There's a point where you have to go, okay, I'm going to feel it, process it, and then I have to make that decision and stop victimizing myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also a matter of, you got to give yourself grace and realize that you're deserving of these things, of being successful and having a fulfilling life. A lot of people don't feel that way. They feel like they got to keep taking the butt kicking because for some reason they learned early on in life that, they have to go through lots and lots of pain continually to, I don't know, fit in or whatever. So,
well, that's the norm, right? That's what feels comfortable because that's the way they've lived their life.
Yeah, they get comfortable in that.
Have you ever dealt with that? Have you ever struggled through that?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody does. So, like, growing up, I had a stepfather, and it sucked for me. I kind of sat there and blamed that whole situation on why I'm the way I am now. Like, I'm introverted because I didn't know how to process that and handle that, and I wasn't a people person. I mean, I could sit there and go, he's to blame for that, but it's really, I haven't seen him in decades. So it's like,
right.
It's, if it's to be, it's up to me. And, I have to change who I am to be better.
So what was the catalyst for you to go like that aha moment of like, oh, like I don't have to let this thing that in the past control my future anymore. I have the opportunity to make this shift and be my own hero and stop victimizing myself and break out of that.
I think once I moved out and I joined the military, I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years, and I was really in charge of my life, and nobody else was there to, catch me, and
yeah.
I think, I realized that, the stuff that I do now isn't really because of something he, did or didn't do for me. It's because of who I am. And, he influenced me in that, but, it's really a choice, a series of decisions that I made, and I'm in my place in life because of things that I've done and decisions I made. So it's all on me. And
right.
I'm holding it to him. I mean, I don't want to give him credit where it's due or not due. So.
Right. Well, and like you mentioned John Maxwell earlier, and one of the things that he says, he's been saying for like forever, is everything rises and falls on leadership. And right. And as a owner of a business, right. So everything rises and falls with the top. So, and I love John Maxwell. I consume a lot of his content. And culture starts with the top. You only can give away what you have. You can only replicate who you are. And so if you want a company if you don't like your company culture, right? Like that means that there's something about you as a leader that's the problem, right? The problem's at the top. And so everything rises and falls in leadership. So if something isn't right in your culture, well, then you have to embody your culture, as a leader and as the owner of the business. And so I like that like what you're talking about, that empowering thing. I imagine that's helped you in business quite a bit. Yeah.
And I didn't even start realizing that until, I did self-improvement, and it's actually kind of wild because I did coaching with Grant Cardone's organization, and there was a interaction I had with Brandon Dawson one time, and I was talking to him about, okay, how do I deal with toxic people that are working for me? And he said, well, first off, I want you to acknowledge that you're the reason why they're here. Because we attract what we are.
Ouch.
I'm like sitting there like he's like one of my idols. He's also a John Maxwell disciple. And, I was like, and I'm, in front of like 100 something people. And I was like, and I was like, you know what? He's absolutely 100% right.
That toxic person is in your business because you picked them, you hired them, and you put them there, and you've allowed them to stay.
And plus, laws of attraction. So I'm a little toxic myself. And so
aren't we all?
There was a stark realization that I have to change. And, I'm glad that he did hit me with that because, I mean, it was a gut punch and it hurt, but it was definitely a tough love thing. But that's really kind of been like a big catalyst for me in terms of trying to be a better person and realize that I'm not going to be able to attract what I want. I can only attract what I am.
Wow. That's so good. I'm not going to attract what I want. I can only attract what I am. And, yeah, like that's a really good, that's a mouthful right there. So if you don't like what you're attracting, you got to change who you are. Yeah,
definitely. You're a mirror, or the universe is a mirror to you. So, and, yeah, you just have to be aligned and, understand that, we have to identify with what we want in life. And, we're not going to get anything from the universe unless we're putting it out. So if we want to have great people working for us, we have to become a great person.
Yeah.
And, same thing with honest people, or, if we want to have a life of abundance, we have to give abundance.
Right. Yeah. You attract what you are. So if you're generous with others, then you'll attract people who are generous.
Absolutely.
That's true. Well, I mean, even personally, like if I were to rank my leadership on a 1 to 10 scale, and I don't know, let's say I gave myself a 7 as a leader, as like I'm a 7 level of leader. As that kind of person, I'm not going to follow a level 5 leader. I'm probably not going to just naturally respect them and want to aspire to be the level 5. I'm going to think to myself, all of us have worked in an environment where we've been like, I'm a level 7 leader, my boss is a level 5 leader, and you get frustrated because you're basically at a higher leadership level or higher integrity, higher character, or higher whatever it might be, less toxic or whatever your quality might be. And so, yeah, like if I'm a level 7, I'm only going to follow level 7s and above. Really, I'm going to want to follow level 8s and above. And so, yeah, if I'm only attracting level 3 leaders in my organization, I'm probably a level 4 leader or level 5 leader. Mm-hmm. And if I want better people, then I got to level up my skills and be somebody worth following. And if I want a level 10 leader in my business, I got to be a really, really good leader to be able to attract those kinds of people in my organization.
100%. So, yeah, that kind of reminds me of when I was in the Marine Corps. Everybody has rank, and you can see the rank. And, real leadership isn't based on your position. And you could be a leader, and you could be lower on the totem pole in, the organization structure. But I remember having like master sergeants that, had poor, accountability and questionable ethics, and, skips out of work. And then you have guys who are lower level that, were clearly the leader, and you could tell by the level of response that you get from subordinates. It's really about your influence over people versus what rank you have in the company. So
it's so true. Yeah, and leading from the middle is an art form. It's like when you're if you're working in a business and you're not the top, you're somewhere in middle management. Leading from that position and leading well is man, that is probably one of the hardest leadership positions to be in, especially if you're a top-notch leader. You have to really navigate some tricky waters there.
Yeah, and then as business owners, we have to, if we have somebody like that within our organization, you definitely have to grow because you want to keep people like that.
Right.
And they're not going to stick with people that are not at that level.
Mm-hmm.
Going somewhere else unless they're, they have great buy-in with what your goals are. So, yeah, it's something that everybody has to grow on a continual basis. And, another thing you have to think about too is that, the times are shifting now. We want to, right now we want to start treating folks in a way that we're working through people versus, just being transactional, building our businesses, because then, it's a real job when you have to, keep telling people what to do. So that takes another level of leadership, is being able to work through people, to, do the things that you need to do so that you can have time to yourself to do other high level functions in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if as a business owner, if you're stuck in the weeds, if you're stuck in the daily grind of what has to happen, you don't ever get the bandwidth mentally and emotionally to be able to start to look to the future and to plan what's it going to take, because all your energy is going in just to maintaining what you have versus building what's going to be in the future. They say like working in the business versus working on the business, and that is a leadership skill thing. So if you build up your people the right way, you don't have to babysit, handhold, micromanage, because you hire smart people and you train them right, and then you release them. And yeah, you got to recruit the right people. Then once you're recruiting, then you got to find a way to select them, because sometimes you have multiple high quality candidates, and you got to train them, and then you got to motivate them, and you got to manage them. And once you get all that kind of those pieces together, flow in the right way, all of a sudden you end up with a team and organization that kind of takes on a life of its own. And, I have several businesses, but in my home inspection company right now, it's gotten to the place where now it's finally getting to the place where it's like, it has a life of its own. There are, I don't know all the customers that we have anymore. I don't know everything that's going on. I was actually out of town last week, out in the Ozarks camping. And while I was gone, my employees, we've been in this hiring process, that they've found other candidates, and they've been doing interviews, to hire more people. And I'm not even there to do the interview. And which is, for me, is a unique, position to be in, of like, okay, they interviewed people this last week that I've never met. And so now my team is now like, it's just kind of that to me. I'm like, oh, this is like a new level for me, at least, to where, we might end up hiring somebody that I've never met before. And in a small business that just feels a little strange. But I love it. I think it's really cool to be able to empower people to make those decisions. I find that like sometimes you get the right people doing that, and like they make better decisions than I would.
Yeah. I mean, Dan Martell talks about this with, his whole process of buyback of time, is that, he hires people to do a job, and it's not for him to tell them how to do their job. Mm-hmm. They should be telling him how they do the job. And I'm like, I thought that was so exciting to think about, because it's like, it's true. I don't know everything. And I actually hired an executive assistant, and she knows way more than I do about like all the little nuanced things, and she does it better than I do, and she's excited about it.
That's cool.
And it's like, the things I sit there and go, man, this is aggravating and time consuming, and it's detail stuff, and I'm not wired that way. I hate it. She loves it, and she's excited about it, and she's way smarter than me at it. And it's, when you have people that do things that they're preloaded with all these skills and are better at it than you, that's kind of like a Zen type of thing. You can kind of back away from that area and feel good about it, because it's taken care of.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's like Henry Ford talked about that. And it's like, I don't have to be smart and know how to do all this stuff. I hire this guy to do all this stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have a bookkeeper. I don't do my own books. I have a bookkeeper because, I'll probably mess it up. I have a CPA that does my taxes for me, because for the same reason, like I don't know everything there is to know about so I have a group email sometimes with my bookkeeper and my CPA when it comes close to tax season. It's like, hey, y'all figure that out, and sometimes I'm in the group email, and like my CPA and bookkeeper are having conversations using words and phrases that sometimes I don't understand everything they're talking about, until it gets down to the end. And then I'm like, okay, what are we talking about here? And then it's like, they kind of break it down for me, in layman's terms for me to understand, here's how the strategy is on what we're doing with bookkeeping and taxes and everything else. To hire those guys are excellent, and same thing. I have an operations director now that runs my operations, and they make changes. So in the beginning, I helped write the operations manual, but now the operations manual looks completely different than how I wrote it, because over time they've made changes to how we're doing things, and now there's a whole, like I honestly don't know how to run some parts of my company anymore. Like if I had to go get into the calendar and like reschedule something or reroute something, I actually don't know if I know how to do that. I'd have to go pull up the operations manual for my own company to figure out how to reschedule an appointment because I don't know how to do that anymore because I now have teams that are doing it. And it's such a great place to be in where like the business takes on a life of its own like that. And it is freeing. It is time. It is buying my time back, and it's freeing that I don't have to think about that anymore. That doesn't have to live in my brain space anymore. My brain space can now be dedicated to jumping on a podcast with you, and having a great conversation. I could not have done this 3 years ago. I didn't have the mental bandwidth to do podcasting because, I was too occupied and too tied up in the business to be able to think big picture and have big conversations with amazing people like yourself. And so now my time is freed up to do things that I really love doing.
Yeah, I think the cool thing is like when you start letting go of all that stuff, and that's a problem for a lot of us because we all start out, in the business and we're like, oh, we think we're the best technician or whatnot. And then you hire people and, sometimes you find people that are better at it than you. And then sometimes ego gets in the way and then you kind of self-sabotage everything, and that slows you down. So learning to have that process in place and guardrails up that they can work within, and if they're better than you, that's even better because they can take over the stuff that you were doing and you can move on to the next level of your business. And that's why I'm getting so excited about working all the time, because it's now I'm like focusing on the stuff that lights me up, and it doesn't hold me back. It's like I'm not being bogged down with working in the business. I'm working on the business. And it's way more fulfilling when you kind of get to that point. Yeah.
Oh, it's way more. And the beautiful thing, you touched on this earlier, but is when you have that clear vision and mission and values, and this is where we're going, you can sit down with your team. Like you said, I don't know how you're going to get there, but this is where we need to go. And so we're in a mission right now to double our business. And so at the end of last year, we sat down, ran the numbers, and we're like, okay, this is where we're at. Our organizational structure, our current employees, staff, everything that's going on, is able to support what we're doing. But we're kind of running at a maximum capacity. And so then we had a planning meeting and we sat down, like, what's the future look like? Can we double this business again? What would it look like? And so we sat down and said, I think we can do it. And I was like, how do you think we can do it? And so then we ended up all together brainstorming out and created a path for us to do that. It needs organizational structure change. It needs different employees, new employees, shifting existing employees in different positions. And so we brainstormed the whole thing out. So then we start executing on this thing, right? And I say I had the planning meeting. And then my staff starts executing on it. Along the way, they are fully empowered. They're like, this isn't quite lining up the right way. They don't have to ask Matt anymore. They go, no, we're just going to make this tweak and this change because this is actually going to get us to where we need to be. And they just make the changes and adjustments now. And so now they're going. So now as the owner, I don't have to micromanage anybody. I can say, this is where we're going. This is the vision of the company. How do we get from this size to that size? And what's the best path to get there? Well, now I have multiple people thinking about it. And I hire really smart people. And if you're going to hire really good, high quality, smart people, and then you're going to choke the life out of them by micromanaging them, they're not going to want to stay. And so let them be, smart and intelligent and come up with ideas and then empower them to go do it. And as long as we get to where the goals are, I don't know if I really care how we get there. Stay within the framework of the vision, mission, values, and then let's figure out how to get there.
Yeah, I think that's what Simon Sinek talks about. If you have the big enough why, the how, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And what you end up as an owner, I think as a business owner, you end up focusing on the who. If I can hire the right who's, then I don't have to worry about the hows. And get the right people, they will figure out the how. And so it's like I cast the vision and I focus on the who. And I'm actually at the place now in the business where I'm not focusing on the frontline who anymore. My leadership team is now focusing on the frontline who, which is a new experience for me. Normally, I've been involved in all this process.
Yeah, I'm kind of slowly rolling out at least in terms of our business, like part of the hiring process, I used to screen folks initially and then brought them into actual in-person interviews. Now I'm starting to do that with the EAA, who's got an HR background. So that's really cool because that frees up even more time of mine and headspace so I can focus on the more higher level end of that.
Yeah.
So.
And how many applicants do you get when you post for a job?
Well, I remember during COVID, it was different.
Yeah.
But, it's funny because like when we hire technicians, if you're hiring for a licensed position, you get far less. But if you hire for something that's not licensed, then it's like completely night and day. You get overwhelmed with how many.
Yeah.
So I know when I was looking at bringing on an admin support person, we'd have like well over 100 applicants in a span of 2 weeks. And I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to get through.
That's a full-time job just to sort the applicants. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It took forever. And then it's really not it almost did a disservice to the people that were in the group of, that we were looking at, because now it's like a couple weeks in and they're like wondering, okay, did this guy just like bail on us and not make a decision, or they don't want us? And then they end up getting a job somewhere else because they were thinking, I guess I didn't get the job because I didn't, turn around the hiring process fast enough.
Right.
So that's one of those things, like the bigger you get in business, the bigger and better the new problems that you start having to deal with as you grow.
Yeah.
And then you have to compensate for that. So that's actually a thing that we're working on now, is trying to speed up that whole process so that, you're not having people waiting on alerts, because sometimes there's people that just don't have a job and they can't wait.
Right.
So
yeah, they need something now. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I posted a job, this is a couple of years ago, and I was hiring for a home inspector, and it was a licensed position, and I put in there looking for a licensed home inspector. But then I have a good job description, and I tie it all into the mission, vision, values of the company and all this other stuff. And then, and it's a high paying job. Like it's a higher income job. And so I put in kind of some pay range stuff in there, and, which was a mistake, I think. But within a week, I had over 300 applicants, and I had to turn the ad off because I was like, and none of them had a license. Like I was just like, what is going on? And in the middle of there, I found a couple people that actually had a license, and so we ended up hiring people. But just getting that kind of a tidal wave of applicants, it doesn't do anything good for anybody. As a business owner, you're like, there's like a sea of information. You can't get through it all. And then I feel like you're not doing a good service to the people who are applying, because you can't really communicate. And so, it was like a full-time job, just filtering all of that. And I was like, dang, I'm not doing that ever again. I got to find a better way than just having the tidal wave of humanity coming into my front door of like, I want to work there,
Yeah, I know. And Indeed, you can put like the setting on there for it, asks them a preliminary question while they're applying, whether or not they have a license in a certain area.
Uh-huh.
And if they don't, it just automatically rejects them. So that helped me a lot, because before I was getting 50 to 60 applicants for pest control technician role, and we're looking for somebody who has a license already. And then it narrowed it down to, okay, now we got 5 to 10 people to look at. So,
and that's a reasonable amount that you can filter through that.
Yeah, that made it a lot easier. I mean, when you're looking for entry level guys, that's a whole different animal, and you're just getting everything.
Everything, yeah. I have found now the best people we've hired have all been through referrals.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, as the business is growing, just broadcast out within our own network. We're looking to hire these types of people. Do you know anybody that would like this kind of a job? And we, then, because then when your friends and family and your clients and everybody else is saying, oh, this would be a good person, they're putting a piece of their street cred on the line. They're not going to recommend a loser. They're only going to recommend their winners. And so, I think you end up with a better quality candidate pool, at least at that. You end up with a smaller one, that's for sure. But I can tell you that our referral hires are always the best.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then the referral, when they get hired, they want to do a good job because they don't want to mess it up for their friends.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, my first hire was a guy named Danny, and then we were growing. I was like, Danny, we got to hire somebody else. And so he said, well, my friend Robbie, he'd be really good at this. So we hired Robbie. He was great at it. But for that exact reason, like your existing employee isn't going to refer somebody that's going to suck at the job because it's going to make them look bad. And then the guy coming in is like, I don't want to make my friend look bad. So I'm going to make sure I'm stepping it up in a level. And then, we had a client of ours say, you know what, I got a friend of mine that'd be really good at this. And so we ended up hiring that person as well through the interview process. And I've just found like the referrals that you get is always the best. You get the people, for that exact reason. There's a little bit of like a social pressure there, at least to perform and to not refer losers, and not that they're losers, but they want to refer people that are good fits for this organization. They're probably good fits in other places maybe, but not here. But yeah, I like that. That's hiring. I know you had mentioned you guys have been growing. I think if I remember right, offline, remind me, I think you said you're trying to double the business. Is that right?
That's what we're targeting right now.
Dang. All right.
And I'm pretty sure we're going to overshoot it.
Heck yeah.
To be honest. But, yeah, so I mean, we have the goal, but I always like to 10x the goal, in my head. But I think it's a good mindset to be in, because you always do more than what's necessary to accomplish the mission. So, but I definitely know we're going to grow at least double by next year. That's a done deal.
I love that. So. Yeah, that's awesome. And so you got the strategy, and now you know what you got to hire certain people or move people to different positions. And how's that process going for you?
It's going well. So we started doing more like an EOS model for goal planning. And we do weekly meetings and all the level 10 meetings, but we're also goal setting and, naming somebody who's going to be accountable for whatever task or goal that we're trying to achieve. And everybody's involved in the decision making of those goals too. So it's cool because they have their buy-in, because they're saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And they feel like they're contributing to the overall success of that. So it makes it more meaningful for those folks. And then plus they know we're all looking at them. Okay, did you get that job done, kind of thing? So we're regularly checking on it. We're holding everybody else accountable, and it's pretty exciting because we can kind of look straight ahead and say, yep, that's our goal that we have. So we have it right up, so we have our quarterly rocks that we can look at. We've been using 90IO, which is like an EOS platform. That's a new one for us, but it's cool because you can actually list all of the mission, vision, and core values and, the goals up there so everybody can look at them. So there's kind of like a scoreboard for the entire organization.
Oh, that's really cool. And like people want to be on a winning team. Like nobody wants to be on the losing team. They want to be on the team that's winning games. And so when you can put a scoreboard and put your key metrics and you can say, okay, look, we're aiming for this. And then you're hitting these goals and these mile markers. When you're celebrating that too, it's like, heck yeah, look at that. We're doing this. We've got this done. It's empowering and energizing for everybody, not just the owner. Everybody wants to be a winner. And so it's fun when the team is winning. And then it's like, oh my gosh, we're growing like this. We have more work than we can get to. And guys, we're going to have to hire another technician. I hope you guys are ready. We're bringing on more people. And then they start seeing that. And then you're like, man, we're staying busy. But you know what? We're going to grow even more. So we're going to bring on a salesperson to help with these types of things. And people get excited when they start seeing, more employees coming on board, and they start seeing numbers and goals being hit, and they start seeing even their own personal metrics getting better. I don't know, man. I think I think measuring metrics, for specific employees and different key indicators, right? When you start measuring that, it can be, I don't know. I think it can come across like critical if you don't do it right. But if you do it right, it can be very empowering, and people can be so excited to be like, I'm hitting these goals, and look at how this is happening.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like, it makes it kind of like a game,
It is.
You can see what your score is and, what you need to do to get to the next level. And you can gamify the whole experience with your folks so that they can say, okay, to get to the next level, I need to be able to be at this level with my metrics.
Yeah.
You have a career path laid out for them and step by step how to get there and what metrics it's involved. And you can have rewards in between all those things too. Mm-hmm. So simple things like saying, hey, if we meet our goal as a team, then we're going to start upgrading the trucks. We're going to get new trucks.
Nice.
Things that make it look cool and it's nice, and everybody benefits from. There needs to be something else that's kind of like tangible too. That okay, we're going to get better equipment. This is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, financial bonuses are a plus too, but not everybody responds to that. So. Just making people's lives easier while they're working. Hey, these trucks actually have air conditioning.
This one starts every time you try.
So.
That's really funny. Yeah, no, that's true. That people do respond to that stuff. A little while ago, about once a year, we do this, where we'll do a review competition inside of the business. And so right now we just brought on a few more people. And so we're about to do it again. And so what we do is we'll take, my crew tends to be more of kind of an outdoorsy type crowd. And so, a Cabela's or a Bass Pro, we have a Cabela's here in town. And so I'll go down and I'll buy like a $200 gift card to Cabela's, and we'll tape it to we have a big dry erase board in the common area. I tape it to the board, and we have like a tally marker. So we actually write everybody's name down, and we have like a tally mark, and we calculate how many times their name was mentioned in a review. And so we tell them it doesn't matter if it's 1 stars or 5 stars, or somewhere in the middle. If your name is mentioned in the review, you get a tally mark. And so, so then they're like, okay, sounds great. So we're doing it this one time and tally mark. And then one guy, he had this review where his name was mentioned twice. And so they're like, well, Aaron did this. And then at the end, we really love working with Aaron. And so then Aaron's like, hold on, my name's in there twice. So I get 2 tally marks, And so then everybody's like laughing and like, we're like, I don't know. So we took it to a vote, and everybody's like, yeah. All right. We can do two tally marks. His name's in there twice, From that day forward, every review was like, Rudy's this, Rudy's that, Rudy's this, Rudy's that, Danny's this, Dan. And so like, because they're out telling their customers while they're out in the field, they're like, hey, listen, we're having a contest in the office for reviews. It doesn't matter what star level you give me, but every time my name is mentioned in the review, I get a point. And, I'm trying to win this gift card to Cabela's, and so can you help me out? You're going to get asked in the process, how was the experience? And so every time you put name in there, I get a point, help me out. And so people they got on board, customers got on board with this thing. And so it just came this whole thing inside. We made this giant game out of it. And so we have all these tally marks going up, and at the end of the month, we add it all up. And then it's like whoever has their name mentioned the most wins. And so they get the $200, and it's like this whole game, and it's a fun thing. It cost me $200, right? That's not a huge amount of money. But what did happen is now I got a ton of 5-star reviews pouring into all the platforms, the Yelps and the Googles and all the different places, the Angies and all that stuff. So you get a ton of that going on, and they're like, their names getting mentioned. And so now when a guy's going out, gets assigned to the job, if a client goes and looks at the reviews, they're going to find their name in there. And so, and they're going to go, oh, he gets great reviews, so he must be a good guy. And so it kind of like win all the way around. And it's fun when you gamify like goals that you have, I haven't done the review one in a while because we haven't needed to, but more people coming in. We're going to do it again, probably in maybe November. We'll see how it goes. But then like gamifying that stuff is makes it fun. And yeah, it's work, and yeah, we're trying to increase our stuff, but I don't know. It becomes like a game, like you said.
Definitely. Yeah, we do similar contests with reviews. So we also have team goals too. So there's, a game where, it's not just the individual getting the most reviews. It's, if the team gets, over like say 50 reviews, everybody on the team gets a check.
Ooh, nice.
So it's kind of a combo thing. There's individual goal rewards and team rewards too. So kind of motivates everybody else to kind of say, hey man, go get some more reviews.
I love that, man. I love that. That's good. Man, I love how you've really prioritized your company culture like that. And your like leadership development. And I'm really excited to see where you're going, man. Like I can't wait to get a follow-up. Maybe a year from now we'll get a follow-up interview to see were you able to double it? Where are you at when you're here? How, all those types of things, man. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do a follow-up. It's been a lot of great content. I love everything that you've been talking about. Anyhow, I'm sure people might have questions. I'm going to be like, hey, Jeff, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? If someone wants to get in touch with you and contact with you, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so right now I'm like focusing on growing my Instagram following. So if you want to hit me up on Instagram, my tag is Jeff R. Davis 99 on Instagram. And then you can also reach out on my website. It's newkingstreet.com.
That sounds great. We'll put that information in the show notes if you're listening. So if you didn't get a chance to write it down, you can find it in there. Jeff, it's been great having you on the show today, and I can't wait to see where you go with your business, and I'm looking forward to an update next year.